he's up and down for me.
Yeah.
I like that he's passionate, but he can get whiny a little bit when things don't go his way.
On the Dallas Opera Network, you're listening to Opera Box Score.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wherever you are, however you're listening, it's Opera Box Score. I'm your host, George Cederquist, joined on America's talk radio show about opera by Oliver Camacho, Matt Cummings, Weston Williams, and Ashlee Hardgrave. All right, this week, Oliver goes inside the huddle with baritone Kenneth Overton, the creator of Black Opera Live. Find out not only how history was made when the Met inadvertently featured 4 black sopranos in leading roles in one performance of The Marriage of Figaro, but also which of those sopranos is Kenneth Overton's tennis buddy. Plus, 2-minute drill. Even Kanye West is having a hard time paying his opera performers and crew, and he can't blame Peter Gelb for it.
What? Burn.
Got him.
Matt Cummings, what's all this about Cleveland?
So the big news out of Cleveland is that they are no longer going to be using an offensive mascot/team name anymore.
After 2021.
After 2021. So my... Because Ashlee knows way more about this than I do. No one should be surprised. But my question is, like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna be the Cleveland River Fires? The Cleveland Rock and Roll Halls of Fame? My personal vote would be for the Cleveland Grovers.
Is Grover from Cleveland?
That.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
There it is.
Okay, that took me a second.
You should have remembered Grover Cleveland. I believe he was the president when you were born, Oliver.
That's it.
Which time?
We don't have a racist name anymore. It's Grover.
Oh, now it's just time for, the other 3 cities that have professional sports franchises with questionable mascots.
Okay, so Chicago, duh, the Blackhawks, whoops.
Kansas City. And Atlanta.
Yeah.
Not great.
All right, let's talk some opera.
Huddle up. Let's go inside the huddle.
Oliver Camacho went inside the huddle with baritone Kenneth Overton.
I'm going to tell you about that in just 1 second, but now I'm scared that somebody's going to tackle Sarah Fuller. Is that possible? Could they tackle her?
I mean, yes, but
do kickers ever get tackled?
They can.
They do. But why would you be scared?
I mean, really, any of us could be tackled at any time. I live in fear, Oliver. That's why I'm in this closet.
No, yes. I mean, a kicker can get tackled, but also, let's be fair. It's Vanderbilt. They don't have that many games left, so we're okay for now.
Okay. So a couple months ago, we spoke to Afton Battle, and she kept reminding us that we should check out the work of Kenneth Overton. And so on her recommendation, I did. And the first thing that I noticed was that Kenneth Overton uses his social media platform to advocate for Black artists and, Black opera, just to be very broad about it. And he's working on this documentary called Black Opera, the film, which is like the history of Black singers in opera. But because everything has been sidelined due to COVID, he decided he was going to just keep creating content and keep advocating on his social media platforms. And he started a sort of a talk show, an interview series, which is called Black Opera. And he interviews various Black singers. And he had this one episode, which I can't believe that he was able to put this together. But in a single episode, he has Barbara Hendricks, Harolyn Blackwell, and Roberta Alexander all on the same show.
Okay.
Because the three of them plus Hilda Harris by accident appeared on the same cast of The Marriage of Figaro. And
we stand that whole happenstance.
There was a cancellation and there was like a cast change, this type of thing. So it all kind of conspired to create this one magical evening. It's never been repeated at the Met with 4 Black leading sopranos.
Imagine that.
So he got all of them except for Hilda Harris on this call. And I mean, I would listen to 2 hours of Barbara Hendricks being interviewed, but to have all of them together was pretty incredible. So I wanted to begin our conversation with Ken Overton, who, by the way, is also a singer and who is part of the triple Grammy nominated Passion of Yeshua by Richard Daniel Porter, in which he's singing Black Jesus. So not to forget that he has his own career as a singer, but I'm very interested in his advocacy work, and I wanted to ask him how it all got started.
Yeah, it started out of frustration with Black History Month. You know, it's the time of year where, you know, orchestras and companies call you to take part in their Black History Month program, and you don't hear from them at any other time of the year. But then I was also frustrated with the industry at large in that it decides what handful of singers of color get celebrated. And you hear the same names and you hear the same voices over and over and over again. And it's like, wait a minute, my cell phone is full of my friends who are singers of color who are extremely amazing, and they need to get some shine. And so with my social media platform, I'm going to just do it. And I said, you know, I'm going to put up a photo, a YouTube clip, and a biography every day for the entire month of February about singers other than the ones that the industry sort of puts in our face.
And right before we started recording, you told me that your advocacy goes back maybe even earlier than Facebook with a company called
Opera Noir of New
Noir.
York. Yeah, I helped to co-found it about 15 years ago. And it started out as a resource center for Black singers. And we would come together and have monthly master classes with accomplished artists in the field. And they would come and give freely of their time. You know, you have Harolyn Blackwell coming in to give a master class, and Martina Arroyo coming in to give a master class. And, you know, directors like, you know, Gina Lipinski and all of these amazing people coming in. And each month the class would get bigger in numbers. And then we decided to put on a concert one day in a church, and then kaboom, it started its own life. And then companies started contacting us when they needed singers of color for productions or whatever. And we became this sort of like...
You became the Porgy and Bess farm.
Yeah, exactly. And
the Treemanisha farm.
Exactly. And Showboat and all the rest of it. Yes.
So you've been doing this then. So let's just say you've been, you know, trying to amplify the work of Black artists and other artists of color for many years now.
Yes.
And that has led to what I think is an incredible platform, Black Opera Live, but it has many wings. So can you go ahead and like sort of describe what Black Opera and what Black Opera Live is?
Well, Black Opera came to me through my two now very dear friends, Jonathan Estabrooks and Miranda Plant, and they are Canadians, white Canadians, and they were in the process of producing and making a documentary about the life of 6 legendary Black singers.
That is white excellence, by the way.
Yes, white excellence, absolutely. And it's not lost to me that they're Canadian, like at all. I love that, actually. And they wanted a consultant. And Jonathan went to Juilliard as a singer, but with my friend baritone Sydney Outlaw. And he said, Sydney, who can I talk to? Who's, you know, really into this? And Sydney gave him my name. And so the three of us had a meeting one day, and they said, well, you just can't be a consultant. You have to be an associate producer. Would you consent to doing that? And I'm like, yeah. You know, I didn't go to school for film production. Mm-hmm. But I decided, you know, let's jump in head first. This combines all the things that I love: opera, Black singers, and celebrating the history of it all. So that's how it started. And it's grown now, and it's continuing to grow. We're expanding the script to include Black singers of today and how they were inspired and how doors were opened with the singers of our past in our history. So it's an ever evolving documentary, and it's going to be really, really, really fantastic. But we were in the process of raising money, like all documentaries do, and then Corona hit. and things dried up, money dried up, and, things just halted. And I said to the team, I said, listen, we've got to do something just to keep the name of the film out there and keep it going. And they said, well, why don't you do a talk show? And I said, well, yeah, I can do a talk show and just talk to my friends, the living, breathing, working Black artists of today. And so that's how Black Opera Live started. And I was originally only supposed to do it for June and July. But then we got to July and they were like, you can't stop. You can't stop. You can't stop. You have to do it. And so we moved it from Instagram to Facebook and YouTube Live. And it's just been a tremendous, awesome, amazing experience. And the first Monday of January will be my 30th episode with, just incredible artists. It's phenomenal.
So you have the feature length film, which is still being produced.
Yes.
And you're still trying to raise money for.
Yes.
But then there are the talk show segments, which people can find on the Black Opera Facebook, but better to look for it on YouTube. What is your recommendation?
Yes, we have all of the episodes on our website, blackoperafilm.com, and our YouTube channel, the Black Opera YouTube channel as well. All of the episodes from the very beginning until infinity will be there.
Okay. But then you also did something like the Jesse Norman celebration.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a true labor of love. Again, during the pandemic, I'm sitting in my apartment in the middle of July, and a friend of mine wrote me and he said, hey, you realize it's Jesse Norman's 75th birthday this September 15th. You should do something. And then that's all he said. And I'm like, well, what the heck am I going to do with this in the middle of a pandemic? What can I do that can, really honor her and the greatness that she is? And so I stayed up to like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, writing things down. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I came up with this idea and I took it to Jonathan and Miranda the next day. And I said, you guys, if I'm overstepping, if this is outrageous and beyond what we're supposed to be doing, just tell me to be quiet and I'll go back to my associate producer corner. And they said, nope, this is fantastic. We have to run with it and do it. And it grew from its inception to what everybody eventually saw. But we were able to raise so much money and donate thousands of dollars to the Jesse Norman Fund, which helps to support the Jesse Norman School of the Arts. And it was a fantastic experience. It gave me a couple more gray hairs in my beard, but it was so worth it. And everybody that we asked to take part in it was so gung ho. And
you got a couple people in there like Anna Devere Smith and Laverne Cox
Yes.
and Michael Tilson Thomas. Just a few people.
Just a couple of folks, But they all said yes, and they said yes immediately. And they, even in the middle of a pandemic and all this technology, they all were just wonderful about it.
So is that free content or is that still pay to view content?
It was pay to view, and then we left it up for a week, but it's no longer viewable because it was just a fundraiser for the School of the Arts and for the film.
Okay. Well, getting back to the talk show, one of the episodes, which I've already started watching and I cannot wait to finish it. You had Barbara effing Hendricks, Roberta Alexander, and Harolyn Blackwell on the same show. I mean, those are 3 episodes, and I would want 2-hour episodes with each of them.
Exactly.
But they're all on the same show. Can you tell our audience why they were on the same show?
Yeah, well, I'm a history buff. I love, love, love history. And I found out through a conversation with Harolyn that on one night only at the Met in 1989, 4 Black women sang the 4 leading roles in Le Nozze di Figaro. And it never happened again, neither in that run of shows or in history have there ever been
just
4
one
Black
night.
women. One night. Due to a cancellation of one artist and an illness of another, these 4 women converged on one night. And Hilda Harris was the 4th, who was Cherubino, and Harolyn was Barbarina, and Barbara was Susanna, and Roberta was Contessa. And I said, wouldn't it be amazing if I got all of them at the same time? And they have not been all together since. So it was like a reunion for them. And they all said yes immediately. All 3 of them said yes.
How did you get in touch with Barbara Hendricks? Doesn't she like live like in the top of a mountain in Switzerland or something?
She lives on an island off of the coast of Switzerland. She said you have to take 2 ferries to get to the mainland from where she lives. And she was worried about her internet connection, but it was amazing. But I got in touch with her through Roberta Alexander, who I have grown to adore because she is a tennis fan. And we have a little tennis group on Facebook, and she's a part of it. And so we give gab and talk and, just love on tennis. And I wrote to her and I said, would you be interested in doing this? And do you think Barbara would? And do you know her? And she was like, know her. I talk to her at least 3 times a week. She'll say yes. And you'll have problems even getting her to shut up because she loves to talk. And sure enough, I emailed her and her assistant wrote me back immediately. And she said, yes, she would love to take part. And there we were. So we were in Switzerland with Barbara, in the Netherlands with Roberta, and New York City with Harolyn and I. It was great.
So the real question is, do you know if that Barbara Hendricks assistant position is going to be open anytime soon?
And it's interesting. His name is Olivier.
So she wouldn't have to really think that much.
Right. Exactly. So
you've been doing this now all summer long, and you have talked to a lot of people who are history making and working right now.
Yeah.
Do you have the common thread yet, or do you have the the large takeaway, or maybe an anecdote that shows how these things are all related, all these people are related, besides their skin color, of course?
Yeah, so many of them started singing in church. That seems to be the common thread of all of them, all of us, because that's where I started as well. Or they had a teacher that noticed something in them that they didn't know about themselves, which was this talent, this gift. So it was either a teacher or a mentor, and the church that played a huge part in all of their lives. Even Barbara Hendricks, my goodness, I was
somebody with ears out there who is educated enough to hear the potential, and a faith that brought somebody to sing.
Yes, that's it. That's been the common thread.
And do you have any particular anecdotes about a great artist that we admire facing completely ignorant racism?
Yes. Well, talking about La Notte di Figaro, on that night, it was originally supposed to be Kirita Kanawa singing the Countess. And when the curtains went up on Porgi Amor, and they saw that it was not Kiri, but that it was Roberta Alexander, there were boos coming from the house. And she said that it shook her. And I can't imagine it. And she said it may not have been a lot of boos, but just hearing one multiplied itself by thousands. Because you're just there to do your job and to sing. And
it's one of the hardest entrances in all of opera.
In all of opera. And she's one of the greatest Mozart singers ever. So to experience that as a woman, as a Black woman on the greatest stage in probably all the world, but especially here in America, to hear that had to be very jarring.
And it just takes one person to give permission to the others.
That's it. But also, George Shirley told me stories about when the Met would go on tour through the South, and Rudolph Bing would have to step in, and when hotels would say, well, the whole cast can stay here except for him. And then Rudolph Bing would say, well, if he can't stay, nobody's staying. We'll go somewhere else. And so it takes leaders like that to stand up. But these things happen. They happen. They don't happen as blatantly now, but they still happen.
Well, the Barbara Hendricks, Roberta Alexander, and Harolyn Blackwell video is very easy to find on Black Opera Live on YouTube. So everybody go and watch that. On a happier note, you are part of a team that was recently nominated for 3 Grammy Awards.
Oh my gosh.
For Richard Daniel Poor's Passion of Yeshua.
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. It's still very surreal. I wake up and it's like, you're a Grammy nominee. Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Outrageous.
So we love to handicap the Grammys and to sort of analyze the choices. And I would say this year, there seems to be an effort to be more inclusive in
It's
the
a
nominations.
colorful year. It's a colorful year. We love to see it.
Yeah, and just in the vocal category, we have Deshaun Burton's recording nominated.
Yes.
There's a Porgy and Bess, an entire cast, and then there's this Black Jesus oratorio.
Yes, and Sanctuary Road too. Yes,
Sanctuary Road. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating, and I think it's both that all of these pieces are tremendous on their own, but also I believe in my whole being that the Recording Academy and its voters are finally getting it, are finally understanding that greatness and inclusivity go hand in hand. And it's high time that it happens. Classical music is not this sort of whitewashed, solely Western European sort of art form anymore. And if you want it to stay alive and to be vibrant and to have long-lasting history beyond 2020, it's going to have to open its eyes and open its doors. And dust it off and take the
We all
powder
love
wigs
Chopin,
off.
but we have enough Chopin preludes.
Exactly. We have enough. We have enough, and we have enough of the same people playing Chopin. Let's have different people playing Chopin.
Yeah. Well, next year you'll be able to be one of the nominators, right?
Yes.
You become,
I become a voter or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's really the issue is like, who are the gatekeepers and who are the people who are making these decisions? And if you're not including people and they're never nominated, you can never, open it up,
Exactly.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, I know you just got off the phone with Mr. Daniel Poor, just about that piece to kind of tease it out for our audience who hasn't heard it yet?
He just randomly called me this morning. We haven't spoken since the nominations came out because I'm sure he's been busy and overwhelmed, and he just had another one of his pieces have a world premiere at the Oregon Bach Festival, a piano piece, which was amazing. But he called me just to say thank you for being a part of this piece, which was a passion for him, and to tell the story of the last 36 hours of the life of Christ through the Jewish perspective. He wrote the libretto and taking it right from the scriptures, and half of the oratorio is in Hebrew and half is in English. And the Buffalo Philharmonic, both the orchestra and chorus, and the UCLA,
and Joanne Valletta.
And Joanne Valletta. Oh my, she is a dream. She is
incredible.
A dream to
She's been doing this work her whole life, and like
she has.
Yeah, I want her to win all the Grammys.
All the Grammys. Like, she's such a beautiful spirit and a wonderful collaborator. Like, she's this little dynamo that knows exactly what she wants and she knows how to get it, but she does it in such a collaborative way that you, the artist, feel free to give her your absolute best. There are some conductors where it's like, it's my way or no way. We're doing it in 4, not in 2. We're doing it at this tempo. Joanne is so the opposite. And I think the results come out in this amazing recording.
And you were saying to me that Mr. Daniel Poor specifically wanted a singer of color to sing Jesus.
Yes, he did. He said, Jesus does not look like he comes from Stockholm, Sweden. And I want everybody to know that. So he said it was very important to have a singer of color sing this part. And so I was happy.
And the mother of Jesus.
And the Mary, the mother of Jesus, which is sung by my dear, dear friend, Janae Bridges, who I love so much. And to be on a world premiere performance and a recording with one of your dearest friends is just like, wow.
Yeah, that gets nominated for 3 Grammys. So
that gets nominated for the Grammy. And I wasn't aware when the nominations were coming out, and I was on a Zoom call like we all are, and then my phone just started and my friend Damien Sneed, who's like a tremendous musician himself, he said, "Congratulations, I just heard your name called on the recording you did with Joanne Valletta." And I'm like, what? And I dropped my phone to the floor and I started crying. Called my grandmother and my parents, and oh my gosh, what a whirlwind.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately this year it'll be probably the Zoom ceremony. We won't be able to.
Right. Well, I mean, they just did the American Music Awards and people were able to go to that. So we'll see. And it's on January 31st. So maybe, just maybe, we can go to LA and experience it. Who knows?
Well, I mean, you're a first responder. I mean, you have a talk show, so you're a first informer. So I think you
Yes.
qualify as a critical worker.
Yes, exactly. I'm essential.
Well, so many great things came out of this year. I mean, it's obviously your hard work, and it's not like it just fell in your lap. But this is, been your passion, and then suddenly the time to do some of these things and to call up Barbara Hendricks on the phone.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. She gave me her phone number. Like I can call her. It's like, wow.
Do you have any interviews coming up that you would like to tease for us so that we can be sure to stay tuned?
Yes. This coming Monday, I have a show with all Black countertenors.
Oh my God. Is John Holiday going to be on it?
He is not.
Okay.
I've had John Holiday's been a guest already. He had his own 2 hours.
Okay.
So if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll find his interview. And he's busy being a star on The Voice, so he could not do it. There's this little clause that he can't do these things. But I am so excited that I have the first ever Black countertenor, Derek Lee Reagan, on the show. And I have never talked to him before until now, and I reached out to him on Facebook, and he said, "Yeah, I live in Brooklyn now, and I would love to come on and talk." But then there are 4 other ones from generations underneath, like Dr. Daryl Taylor, who's incredible,
who started as a tenor.
Yes, he was a tenor. Studied as a tenor,
and he made a bunch of recordings singing music of Black composers and spirituals.
Black composers. Absolutely.
And then he made a spiritual recording as a countertenor.
That is badass. I love Daryl Taylor. And then the Baroque specialist, Reginald Mobley, out of Boston. And Patrick Daly, who's in Nashville, fantastic, multi-genre countertenor. And then the young one, Kimon Murrah.
Oh my God.
The
crazy.
So they're all going to be on at the same time. And
did you hear his Rossini challenge?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I know Kimon fairly well. We toured together with the American Spiritual Ensemble. And so I've seen him grow up into this dynamite, because he also was a tenor that turned into a countertenor. And now
he is a star. I cannot wait until like a really cool European label that does Baroque operas hires him to do everything,
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you said earlier that you're talking sports with Roberta Alexander, or tennis with Roberta Alexander. Federer or Nadal?
She is Nadal. I am Federer, but I love Nadal too. Nadal is my number 2. So whenever Federer is not playing, I'm rooting for Nadal.
Okay, I don't want to make my fans upset, but I've always been a Federer person. I did not understand Nadal and why people were so passionate about him. But this year, I started to get this feeling watching him play in the new French Open.
Yeah. How do you win that 57 times like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
But it's
just
also
just not even play the tournament anymore. Just give it to him.
Yeah.
Rename the stadium the Nadal Stadium, or rename the tournament the Nadal Open, something. Nobody's gonna beat him at the French Open.
But it's also what I'm impressed with is just his work ethic.
He's a beast.
And his dignity. He has so much dignity.
So much heart.
But then on the court, he is savage.
An animal.
He's savage. And that's why I'm more of a Federer person, because I feel like Federer is the Mozartian stylist, and Nadal
he's
is
Baryshnikov. He's Baryshnikov and Pavarotti, stunning, beautiful, perfect. The technique is outrageous, and him being an ambassador and a humanitarian and a father and a husband, and I just adore him. I can watch him play and both scream and yell at the TV in excitement and weep at the same time, because he's just so amazing. So Federer, I am half Federer and half Serena Williams. I am both of them combined.
So my people.
Yeah.
So of the young generation that don't have a Grand Slam yet, I'm crazy about Dominic Thiem.
Yes.
I think I said it on the show before. He's got the best legs in tennis.
They're like tree trunks. Good Lord.
Who is another young player that you're really excited to watch?
I really love the 2 Russians. right now.
Zverev and
no, not Zverev.
he's German, yeah.
Medvedev,
yeah,
and Rublev.
Rublev, yeah.
I think the two of them.
Rublev is not handsome. That's the problem. Like,
no, he's not. But it's okay.
What do you think about Tsitsipas?
He's up and down for me.
Yeah.
I like that he's passionate, but he can get whiny a little bit when things don't go his way.
Yeah.
And Sasha, I think just the inconsistencies down the business end of tournaments really annoy me.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's a mental game at the end for him.
Yeah. And his work ethic too. I hear that he's often late to sessions and just that sort of entitlement. It's just like snap out of it. And I thought that he would when Federer took him on that Latin American tour last year with just him to all of these countries. I thought that some of that would rub off on him, but it just doesn't seem to have happened.
And who do you think is the next American woman to really break through?
American woman, yikes.
Sophia Kenin was so impressive this year.
I don't really like her, honestly.
Okay.
Because she cheats. Her and her dad cheat. Like, they get so many warnings for coaching violations from the stands, and I just don't like that. And again, she's also whiny when things don't go her way. But there was Jennifer Brady is interesting to me.
I saw her, yeah. Do we think Coco's going to be able to get it together again?
Coco Gauff.
Yeah.
I hope so. She's in that sort of awkward age where it's like she's trying to find her wings, but she's got all the ingredients. I think she's marvelous.
I remember when
she's a baby Venus to me.
Oh my God, Venus used to be. I mean, Venus is still my favorite. Honestly, I think when Venus was, the number one player, I just loved everything that she did, and
beads and all. I love it. I love it.
That final with tall white woman, Lindsay Davenport,
at Wimbledon
was one of my favorite matches of all time. So, but I feel like Coco Gauff is sort of becoming like the Eugenie Bouchard story, where like
I hope not. Oh my gosh.
I do. I think she's so cute. I love her.
You see Serena? She's on my wall here. From top to bottom is all photos of her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Ken Overton, people can find your stuff at kenoverton.com.
Yes, KennethOverton.com is my website.
And then, but they should also definitely go to
blackopera.film.com.
blackopera.film.com. And do you have a professional Facebook, don't you?
Yes, Kenneth Overton Baritone is my Facebook page.
Because you also share stuff there, so people can just follow you.
And my Instagram too. Kenny the Overton is my Instagram handle. So I'm all over the place.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on Opera Box Score.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Kenneth Overton for his time for going inside the huddle with Oliver Camacho. Thanks, Oliver.
Woo-hoo.
All right. We are going to tailgate a little bit and set up a sneak peek for next week as we celebrate Christmas on the OBS. Weston Williams, pour that first tailgate beer.
Yes, tonight's tailgate beer comes in the form of Kathleen Battle.
As do all beers.
As do all beers. I should say this is a preview for next week. Next week is, of course, the Christmas week. There's probably a word for that.
Which is podcast only, by the way.
Podcast only, so we can play some clips for you. But for this particular one, I wanted to start us off just to kind of wet your whistles for Christmas next week by talking about my personal favorite operatic Christmas album. And that, of course, is A Christmas Celebration with Kathleen Battle, with the orchestra conducted by Leonard Slatkin. And I believe it came out in 1990. And
that's vintage Kathleen Battle.
It's like her like at
the
her
hair
peak.
is swoopy and the filters are soft.
It's so good.
Vaseline on that lens, yes.
The red candles, just like you can reach out and just feel the wax melting on the set. It's great. This was kind of an interesting one for me because when we started thinking about it, I was like, oh gosh, I don't listen to a lot of operatic Christmas music. I'm more of a Halloween guy. Wozzeck all day, every day.
Your musical tastes.
But there was one album in particular that I listened to a lot, not just at Christmas, and it was this one. I decided to kind of dig through my trunk of CDs and see if I could find it, and then I realized I couldn't because I actually had it all the way back on cassette tape to age me somewhat. Yes. I know Oliver's not impressed because he was, of course, using wax cylinders in his youth, but for me, cassette tape was a real treasure, and my parents actually got it before I was born. Let's
try to make our son gay. How can we best do that?
I know, Kathleen Battle.
But this is a true story. Like when I was a very young baby, I was usually
when you were 6 feet tall.
When you were only 6 feet tall.
Only 6 feet tall. I could barely fit in the crib. And it was really uncomfortable in the crib when you're 6 feet tall. So if I ever got upset or I was crying, my parents would put on this recording or another recording of Kathleen Battle. And there was just something about her voice, those silvery tones, the phrasing that just soothed my little baby mind. I would just sit completely quietly and just eyes wide open.
Discerning ear.
Just listening to her. Yes, I had very good taste as a baby. I didn't discover Wozzeck until I was 3, so we had to work on it. But this was really the recording that I would go to for years and years and years. Well beyond the point where cassette tapes were a viable technology. Just pulling out my old Walkman in 2010 and jamming it in there and listening to it. And there's just something about this recording. I feel like a lot of Christmas albums can kind of feel cheap and cash grabby, but just the way she approaches every piece, it just has such an absolutely pure Christmas spirit to it, and just such gorgeous phrasing. And just to this day, I can just feel my inner child whenever I hear a track from this album, and just being quiet and listening. And to me, that's what Christmas is all about.
What a fantastic, that is like a Christmas memory. It's like a Truman Capote story.
I Christmas am so
touched. We'll put a link to that on our website, of course.
Is there a favorite track that we can point to? Maybe they're right here in the show notes.
They're all winners. I think the one that I played on repeat, wearing out that tape, was probably her "Oh Holy Night," the second track, I believe, on the album. Or
Not
"Lo
Bring
How
a
Rose
Torch,
Air
Isabella.
Oh, that's a great one too. I think those are probably my top 3. The "Oh Holy Night," "Lo How Rose Air is Blooming." Rose Air Blooming. I always get up with the apostrophes throw me off. But they're just really gorgeous, and it is the opposite of a sellout for me. It just is so beautiful and so genuinely moving, and just an intrinsic part of my childhood.
The one thing that I totally agree with you on, I agree with you on a lot of that, but the one thing I really agree with you upon is that Christmas for us is when you are quiet.
Got him.
Stille Nacht. That's what we're all hoping for. What a great Christmas memory. Again, next week's show, podcast only. Going to be lots of music on that one. You don't want to miss that. That's on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts.
This just in, the 2-minute drill.
All right, listen up. Here's everything you need to know about what happened in Operaland this week.
AGMA has released a statement in response to the recent lockout by the Metropolitan Opera against Local 1 stagehands, saying, "As an affiliate of the Coalition of Broadway Unions and Guilds, IATSE Local 1 stagehands do not stand alone in the lockout by Metropolitan Opera. All of the affiliates, many of whom are facing the same draconian cuts from Met Opera management, stand united with our sisters, brothers, and kin in Local 1. In solidarity with the stagehands, Met Orchestra musicians also released a statement of their own, describing the lockout as a particularly callous action taken by the Met management in this unprecedented pandemic."
Intendantin Katharina Wagner has said that due to the coronavirus, there will be no chorus at next year's Bayreuth Festival. The 2021 season will feature a new production of The Flying Dutchman and revivals of Meistersinger and Tannhäuser, but the chorus will sing live in a separate hall and be beamed into the performance.
General Director of Paris National Opera, Alexander Neef, has sent a message to the audiences saying that the opera, just like every other opera house in France, has to postpone its reopening. Sorry, Maestro Wilson, we were rooting for you.
The Grand Théâtre del Liceu has cancelled its remaining performances of La Traviata due to the Spanish government's new pandemic restrictions. The company announced that until the current restrictions are revised to allow for more than 500 audience members, the theater cannot continue presenting work, noting that performing for just 500 people is economically unsustainable. In an update to a drill item from a month ago, Dresden's Semperoper has now announced that it will remain closed until at least March, a second postponement for their scheduled winter season.
The Philadelphia Orchestra has named the beloved French contralto and conductor, and sometimes both at the same time, Nathalie Stutzmann, as principal guest conductor. Stutzmann starts her 3-year deal beginning with the 2021-22 season, following principal guest conductor Stéphane Deneuve, whose scheduled final appearance was thwarted by the pandemic shutdown.
Opera Theatre of St. Louis has named Yvette Loynaz as their new Director of Artistic Administration for the company. Loynaz's work as an opera singer, administrator, and producer should serve her well when her tenure begins on January 4th.
Early Music Vancouver has announced Susie LeBlanc... Bleh.
Leave it in!
LeBlanc.
Me. Early Music Vancouver has announced Susie LeBlanc as its first female artistic and executive director. In a statement, the acclaimed Canadian soprano and early music specialist noted that throughout her career, she has aimed to, quote, uncover the work of women composers and amplify undervalued voices in historical music.
The Dallas Opera has announced changes to its spring performance plans at the Winspear Opera House. Most performance dates remain the same, but there will be changes to the 4 productions, each of which will last no more than 90 minutes. Audiences in the 2,200-seat Winspear will be capped at 660.
Kanye West's Christian opera, Nebuchadnezzar, may have been out of the news since we here at OBS finally determined that it was actually an oratorio, but now a different controversy is afoot. West has been accused of underpaying and overworking his performers and crew, who are seeking $1 million in damages.
Wait a minute, Kanye's being sued? This just in, bears do defecate in forested areas. On the disabled list, Russian baritone Boris Stentsenko has been hospitalized with COVID-19. We wish him a speedy recovery.
Exit stage right. French soprano Sophie Boulin has died at the age of 69 after suffering a brain tumor. The Baroque specialist leaves behind a number of recordings, among them Handel's Alessandro, Charpentier's Médée, and Gluck's Echo et Narcisse.
Opernhaus Zurich's Director of Studies, Anne Beckman, has also passed away at the age of 69. The American pianist and conductor worked for Portland Opera and Lyric Opera Chicago before positions in Germany, France, Belgium, and finally in Zurich, where she was the Director of Studies for 20 years.
Tenor Klaus Ovcharek has died at the age of 81. Ovcharek was a prominent soloist at the Wiener Volksoper, where he became known for numerous light opera and musical roles. In addition to his work on stage, he also had a considerable film and television career.
And on this day, December 14th, it was the first performance of Sacrati's La Finta Pazza in Paris in 1645. In 1830, it was the birth of French tenor Jean-François Berthelier. In 1847, it was the birth of French baritone Jean Lassalle. And Vive la France in 1897, it was the birth of French tenor Georges Thiel in Paris. In 1915, English conductor and the founder of the New York Opera, Dame Ruth Rialton, was born. In 1918, Giacomo Puccini's trilogy Il Trittico was premiered. In 1925, one for Weston, it was the premiere of Berg's Wozzeck in Berlin. In 1930, Italian soprano Rosanna Carteri was born in Verona. In 1941, American soprano Karen Armstrong was born in Montana, 1941. And in 2001, it was the opening of the new home of the Philadelphia Orchestra at the Kimmel Center for Performing Arts. The gala premiere featured Denise Graves, Frederica von Stade, and Elton John, with the fabulous Philadelphians under conductor Wolfgang Swallish.
And that's your 2-minute drill.
Opera class. Sports radio crass. This is Opera Box Score.
Great rundown for the 2-minute drill this week. Lots happening, especially in hiring in prominent positions.
Yes, I think that as the resident expert here talking about all of these women going into productions. I don't know. You might have all thought that Ashlee was the expert, but actually, I'm just going to mansplain a little bit. Yeah.
Resident women's studies expert, Weston Williams.
As a tall person, it's a marginalized community of tall people. You understand the
Weston, you're a man. Tell me about ladies and getting jobs.
That was a bit we planned beforehand before I'm canceled on Twitter. But Ashlee, what is your hot take?
Yay and more, please. And it's about time. No, these are all incredible hires. So many of them are, the firsts for their companies, or there's something that's particularly groundbreaking about them. I'm actually really excited about the one in Vancouver because she's had this great early music career, and now she's coming back home to do all this great stuff. I'm delighted. I'm over the moon.
Well, Yvette Lonaz started as a singer, and I think they brought her on specifically because of her singing career, but also she's going to be making casting decisions, and it's sort of their goal to be more inclusive in their casting. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be one of her main, initiatives. Not that Opera Theater St. Louis has been slacking, but just to even make that more of like one of their guiding principles. I am most happy about Nathalie Stutzman coming to the U.S. I've been crazy about Stutzman forever. She is an amazeballs singer. And if she only ever sang Brahms Lieder and Handel arias, she would have done enough in her career. But now she has this ensemble called Orfeo 55, which she conducts and sings at the same time. And now she's getting into the standard orchestral rep with Philadelphia Orchestra.
Kind of standard. Their program for next year includes like the Florence Price Piano Concerto. That's a really awesome.
Yeah, but meaning to say non-Baroque repertoire.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So yes, kudos. This is an opportunity for you, if you don't know, to just look up Nathalie Stutzman, listen to her sing Handel arias, listen to her sing Brahms Lieder. It's everything you want.
See if you can handle it.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, on the other side of all of that good news, there are quite a few opera houses that have been forced to re-cancel things.
Whoops.
And while that's difficult, I do have to say that these kind of stories hit very differently given where we are in the vaccine development process. Just like knowing that there is most likely going to be an end, and that it's going to be sooner, that like as soon as we could have hoped.
Yeah, exactly. For it. I think it's. We just had like here in Chicago. I believe we just had the first, on the day of this recording, the first vaccines are being distributed in Illinois.
Yes.
And I remember like ooh, that good news after 2020.
And we didn't know if the 21-22 seasons already were going to be needing to be canceled.
Yeah, but we still don't know. I mean, we still don't know not just how efficacious this vaccine is going to be, but like what people are going to do. We're going to get into a moral quandary here of like, are you vaccinated? Am I vaccinated? How do I know? Do I feel confident that I should go into a space with 5 other audience members, 50 other, 500, 5,000. The vaccine is not the Band-Aid for the performing arts that we might think it is.
Just avoid people wearing MAGA hats, just in general.
Well, I think, Oliver, is a really good tie into what is actually going to be the thing that gets us all back to work, so to speak, which is public trust, which is the one thing that we seem to be kind of depleted in. Recently, there are a lot of folks that are very concerned about the swiftness and the speed at which this vaccine has come through. Some things take years. This has taken 11 months. But you have to keep in mind that this is a vaccine that's on the backs of a number of different vaccines. So they kind of had the nuts and bolts of the recipe were there. They just had to figure out how to make it for like the most recent case of whatever was going on. So it'll be really interesting. Today is a very interesting day in history in general, because we had the official vote of the members of the Electoral College and the first vaccines coming out. It really does feel like we are on the precipice of an era that's different than this one. And you're right, Matt, it hits different.
But George is absolutely right that vaccines don't save lives, vaccinations do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not at the end of this yet, but it is a very differently shaped tunnel than when we started talking about this.
I think that,
and there's a light in it.
As broadcasters who are reporting the news in the opera community, we would qualify as first responders, first reporters, I think is the category.
Yes. I'll walk in with my press pass.
I have I'm getting a call. Oh, they're saying we're dead last on the list? The very last ones? Okay, all right.
The list has 7 and we're number 10. Got it. Okay, number 10.
First pets, then opera broadcasters.
I mean, to see the effects of this in the art, specifically for the Bayreuth story.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, if you're directing a new production of Flying Dutchman, it's got a big chorus. A lot of these Wagner operas do. I think every Wagner opera has a big chorus, apart from perhaps...
the first 3 of the Ring cycle.
Yeah, right. I mean, to do a new production with the chorus in a different room, that is doable. That is possible because you conceptualize it and you build it in from the ground up. To do a revival of Meistersinger or a revival of Tannhäuser with the chorus separate, I don't see how that's going to work. I don't see how you can backtrack or you can, what's the word when you upgrade, you sort of repurpose or fix a machine.
Refurbish,
yeah, exactly. Or sort of, after the fact, you fix it. I don't see how that's going to work.
I mean, I think that I think it can be done. Obviously, it's just going to be a slightly different experience. I do agree, though. I think that one of the things, the silver linings to this cloud of a year, has been the necessity for trying new things and really pursuing those limitations with a mind to creating something new. And it is kind of, it's not the same when it's just pretending like it's normal, but there are these speakers with the chorus in the other room. That being said, I think that it's a good call. And even though at that point, hopefully the vaccine will be fairly widely distributed, I think that it's really encouraging to see opera companies still taking things seriously, even for far down the line when a lot of people are already saying, oh, we'll be fine by then. I think that it's a good thing to have those limitations in mind. And then who knows, maybe by then we won't need them, but we should have them in place just in case.
Retrofit. That's the word I was looking for.
There it is. He found it.
I blame the Werners probably.
Not a sponsor.
Can I blame Kanye?
We can all blame Kanye.
A lot of people are. He's getting sued left, right, and center. Okay, couple points. Are you ready? Uncle Ashlee has some points here.
We are definitely ready.
Tell us the story, Uncle Ashlee.
Yeah. First of all, these lawsuits happened in July and August. How in the blue blazes are we just now hearing about them?
I really think it's because everyone decided that we couldn't talk about Kanye until after November 3rd.
No one wanted to poke him while he was running.
Just don't talk about him at all.
That's fair.
I wondered if that had something to do with his presidential run, because isn't that about when he announced that he was running? Was around July and August?
Something like that. Time is really meaningless.
I'm willing to be fact checked on that if I'm wrong. I'm super willing to admit it, unlike other places. So there's 2 separate lawsuits here. One is for technical people, so hairdressers, costumers, makeup, and then one is for performers. There's a bunch of different classifications for workers in the under the state of California's laws. It's the ABC test. So depending on kind of how and when and where you participated, you're either an employee or an independent contractor, and that's kind of what's at the heart of this thing. But the challenge here is that he's not just not paid them. He's underpaid by upwards of $1 million, which sounds like a lot of money. For someone like Kanye, it is not. That man is worth $1.3 billion. So I am out of the prediction business, but if I were, I would say that this case is not going to go to trial. This serves no one. He should just... he's going to. Someone on his team, one of his cranky accountants, is going to get this thing taken care of. And these folks will get paid. Because it serves no one if this thing goes to trial. Because it's just going to tie up time in the California court system, which we're not going to have. Although with that new DA, the new attorney general in LA, man, there's going to be all sorts of stuff going on. So they're going to have even less time for the courts there. But yeah, I can't see this going to trial. I imagine he's going to, or someone is going to strongly advise him to pay this out. Now, he's not really great at taking advice, so we'll see. But I just don't see a way that this goes to
clearly.
trial.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have done those shows in the first place. I mean,
I will say though that there was all this debate when the opera first came out of was this a real opera, and I think the debate is settled because, like the Met before him, he is also not paying his singers.
I love that Tritico and Wojciech were just 7 years apart in competition.
Isn't that wild to me?
In premiere.
Also, happy National Wojciech Day to everyone, all of our listeners. I know Christmas is coming up. That's a secondary holiday. Please pass around your traditional knives to all of your loved ones.
Langsam.
So that's the gift-giving tradition, knives on Wojciech Day?
Just bloody knives.
And
you have to throw them in the sink.
A hobby horse for the
What are
child.
the gifts for
Tritico Day? What does the child play with at the end? Is it a hobby horse?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I quit. I'm fired. I quit. Oh, God.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
All right, let's wrap this show up.
Good call. Bad call. On Opera Box Score.
Good call, bad call. That was the most surreal end to the 2-minute drill I think I've ever experienced.
I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of it. Red letter.
I blame Alban Berg. Oliver Camacho, you got a good call or a bad call for us?
Well, just like we were talking about, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's like a new beginning, hopefully, with an administration, etc. Orpheus is the story that always gets told whenever there's like turning the page. And I want to shout out to Opera Williamsburg, which created a remote Orfeo, the Gluck version, with artists who were all in different parts of the world and filmed their own parts, and then a filmmaker put it together. And it's premiering tomorrow, by the time you hear this, yesterday, December 15th. That's Opera Williamsburg. And also, we just learned today that Northwestern University finally has announced the premiere of Orfeo Remote, the Monteverdi Orfeo Remote. And that's going to happen in January, so we'll definitely try to get the director, Joachim Schramsberg, on to talk about that. But that's a project that's taking a long time. And I mean, rightfully so. I mean, I know that they had a lot of challenges with that, and it's a lot of different film that he had to stitch together to create that Orfeo. But looking forward to that. But it's Orfeo time, everybody.
Matt Cummings.
As we were prepping for the show tonight on Monday, I saw on my social media that Broadway legend Anne Reinking passed away today, and I came to opera by way of musical theater. That was really where I was introduced to live performance, live music, stage spectacle, and Anne Reinking was one of the absolute best dancers in the history of the art form. She is incredible. I watched every YouTube video of her that I could find while I was prepping for this. Watched them all. Rest in peace.
Weston Williams.
If you're not already watching The Voice, the finale's coming up. Make sure you vote for John Holiday.
It's today. So we'll know the results.
Oh no! That's the first time I've had a good call in months, and I mess it up.
Ashlee Hardgrave.
My good call goes to friend of the show, Zachary James, and fellow Arkansan, hey girl, Bonnie Montgomery. They have released another single for his upcoming visual album, Call Out. It's called Song Beyond Words. It's a vocalese. It's currently out on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. It's really beautiful. It's got piano, steel guitar, of course the baritone and soprano. He recorded alongside Megan Nielsen. It is the first classical composition to use a steel guitar.
I got a good call as well. A friend of our family gave us a big stack of old Christmas CDs from the 80s and 90s. And one of them I have been listening to nonstop. Chanticleer, Sing We Christmas. Ooh. It's so good, especially the second half of this CD, which is all 20th century carols. Herbert Howells, who else is on here? Charles Ives, Gustav Holst, stuff arranged by David
That's a great
Wilcox.
album.
I mean, this is the kind of Christmas music I was raised on. It's really spectacular. That's it for this week's edition of America's Talk Radio Show about opera. Our announcer is Norm Woodel, normwoodel.com. On Facebook, search for Opera Box Score. Be sure to share and comment on our posts. On Twitter and Instagram, we're at Opera Box Score. Podcast version of our show available on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. The views and opinions expressed on Opera Box Score are solely those of the show's creative team. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of the accounts of this show without the express written consent of Opera Box Score would be totally cool. Our creative consultant is Oliver Camacho. Our audio and video editor is Weston Williams. For our guest, Kenneth Overton, and your co-hosts, Matt Cummings and Ashlee Hardgrave, I'm George Cederquist, asking you to continue the conversation about opera when you try to build a gingerbread house and then you get really frustrated when it doesn't stick together and then the whole thing collapses into this pile of sugary
That's very
crumbs.
personal, George. That's all right. I didn't even know that Jewish people made gingerbread houses. We're back with an all-new show next week when we see what's inside the OBS Christmas stocking. Plus, you get more opera headlines, more hot takes, and more name changes for racist sports teams. Join us.